going on, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. Just wanted to bring you guys a quick video. Lord, I had to get off on the side of the road. But yeah, so man, I went ahead and ordered 2022 Dodge Challenger HELLCAT. Some of the drawbacks of purchasing this car at this point is that, man, it was a lot more expensive. You know, back in 2020 when I was looking at purchasing this car, and I always had plans to purchase the car once I got finished with school. That was kind of the goal, you know, kind of something that I set for myself that I felt was realistic financially. You know, doing the type of work I do, school was a big part of you know, getting my pay raises and getting those increases. So you know, I told myself, man, after I get done with school, I'm gonna go ahead and get me a HELLCAT. So this is my last semester of school, finishing up my degree in psychology, and you know, so I said, man, why not go ahead and order me a HELLCAT? So didn't get the red eye simply because, man, you know, at this point, at this price point, it's not just about credit. You know, you got to consider a lot of different, you know, a lot of different things, a lot of different factors. You know, you got to consider credit, yes. You know, credit is always a major component, but at this price point, like I said, it's not the only component, only factor. Debt to income ratio becomes more of a question. You know, insurance, down payment. You know, you're talking about purchasing a vehicle that's in a price point of $70,000 at some point, you know, upwards of $60,000 to $70,000. So, you know, you're talking about a price point that just last year jumped about $7,000, and that's just in a year. I can only imagine the final year of the V8, because you know they're going inline, I think 3.6. Twin turbo, something like that. So, you know, they about to change the game as far as making power. So, you know, since next year, 2023 is going to be the final year of the HELLCAT as we know it, man, the prices are going to shoot through the roof. My final price, my purchase price is $71,605. 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, the same options. All I got is a sunroof and the red seat belts, automatic transmission, which I think they're coming standard. The 2022s are coming standard, I think, with the automatic transmission. I've been on the website here lately, and I haven't seen the options to manual the HELLCAT. So let me know in the comment section if that's accurate. But I think the 2022s are coming standard. The Challenger, which is what I got, I think they're coming standard with an automatic transmission. So 2 years ago, with the same options, I was at around $60,000 for those options. Now keep in mind, the specs of this car has not changed. Nothing has changed about this car as far as regular HELLCAT, narrow body HELLCAT, 2020 to 2022. I'm basically getting the same car, but at a higher price point. Okay, keep that in mind. So, you know, in conversations with, you know, financing, you know, it's a question of, you know, what are you willing to risk? What are you willing to do to get into one of these cars? What is your financial situation looking like? You know, that comes into question. One of the things, if I can give one tip, know your credit score. You know your credit score, have a decent down payment, you know, and also know your institution. You know your credit union, know your bank. I would start communicating with your bank as soon as you maybe get a month out. Start reaching out and communicate with different branches and credit unions to see what their rates might be. But one of the most important things that I figured out, and what I'm going to always keep in mind going forward, is to find out if you're seeking financing, whether it's for a mortgage or for an auto loan, find out what bureau, or what credit report they're going to pull from, whether it be Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian. It's been my experience that your Experian is always going to be higher than your other credit reports. I'm not sure why, but what I did was I contacted my institution or my credit union that I've been with for quite a while, because I wanted to give them an opportunity to, earn my business. Of course, they pull from your TransUnion. Now, your TransUnion is usually the better of the two, Equifax or TransUnion. Your TransUnion seems like it's usually higher than your Equifax. So, not that was bad, but I didn't like the interest rate, and my credit union would only finance 80% of the vehicle. And that's why it's important for you to know your institution. Some banks or some institutions, credit unions, will finance 100% of the vehicle. And that kind of gives you more wiggle room as far as your down payment is concerned, because then the only concern is your credit score, your interest rate, and your debt to income ratio. Those are the main factors when banks are considering loaning out large lumps of money out. If you're going to purchase a $70,000 vehicle, your debt to income ratio need to indicate that you're going to be able to make those payments, lowering your risk of borrowing, of being a risky borrower. So you're looking at all of that stuff, and which is why you notice that some people have to put down a tremendous amount of money, which in this case, you're talking about, and some people are getting red eyes. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people out there, in the YouTube sphere, getting, purchasing red eyes, man. You're talking about anywhere from 80 to 90 grand. So they're having to put down 20 grand, to get into one of these cars. And I know a lot of that has to do with credit history and work history. So, like I said, different factors. But if you're in a situation where you have good credit and your credit isn't impeccable, and like I said, you're just kind of at that good credit mark, then you can get a decent interest rate, and maybe have to put down a smaller percentage, so you can get into the car. If you have a fantastic credit score, you're in the 700s, obviously you're going to get tier 1 interest rates, and you're probably not going to have to put down a large percentage, or if anything at all. So definitely my advice would be, if you're going to order, I prefer to order one of these cars. You build it how you want it, and you actually have a deadline to kind of get yourself together. Having that deadline kind of really pushed me to focus on certain things that I knew would improve my credit, financially, make sure I'm in a stable situation where, down payment wise, I can kind of handle what I need to handle and put down a decent down payment. So, having that window kind of, told me what I needed to do in order to, handle my business. Definitely shopping around and reaching out to different institutions to potentially seek out financing, and stuff like that. So, of course, if you can find one on the lot, which is going to be tough to do, and it's priced decently, man, go for it. I missed the opportunity, a year ago, or maybe earlier in the year, earlier this year, I missed the opportunity. A dealer near me had 2021 red HELLCAT, and I mean, I think it was going for $67,000. No sunroof, but optioned out pretty decently. Man, that car, I mean, leather seats and all, was priced at 67 grand, bro. Like, that's a steal compared to what you're looking at paying now to get into one of these cars. I would have greatly appreciated getting into this car for that price. For that price, man, that's a steal. So I had an opportunity, but of course I wasn't ready. So one of the things that this is going to may help you do, I know for sure it helped me do, was understand that I need to be prepared at all times to make business decisions. And being that I just started a small business, something that I wanted to do with my son, it's going to be important to understand the business side of things. It's a little nerve-wracking for me right now because I'm trying to understand credit, business credit, trying to understand taxes when it comes to having large lump sums of money, man. Like when you have when you're making money, there's obligations that come with that money, so don't get into a situation where you're making large lump sums of money. Maybe you're making money digitally. You definitely want to consider taxes, so that's one of the things that came into play or may come into play with me. So I'm trying to consider that and make preparations to make sure I'm in a good financial situation to handle my business. But yeah, man, one of the things that really helped with this process was shopping around, understanding the process, talking to people, and one of the things that I found that sucked about this process is communicating with the dealer about whether you're going to trade your vehicle in or not. I'm doing a trade-in, so trying to make sure I keep my trade at a value or in a position to be valued decently, because you don't want to be upside down going into one of these cars, man. Going into a $70,000 car, that's enough in itself. You don't want to go into that situation upside down. And that's why I was kind of excited that when I ordered this vehicle, I was able to order the vehicle with a deposit that if things didn't go right, I wouldn't mind leaving that deposit on the table. Because one of the things that you might want to look into as well is if you're going to be required to put down a deposit to order the car, checking to see if that deposit is refundable. A lot of times dealers will tell you that your deposit is non-refundable. The original deposit was supposed to be $1,000. It would have been hard to leave $1,000 on the table. Hell, it's hard to leave what I put down on the table. So I put down $500. Okay, man, that's hard to leave on the table, man. It's a lot that I can do with $500. And honestly, man, if this falls through, I probably won't leave it on the table, and I'll probably just look at something different. You know what I'm saying? Just so that I can utilize that $500. I mean, I might as well. But yeah, so if you're looking at getting a HELLCAT, man, those are some things to consider. Like I said, number one, thinking about your debt to income ratio. Some banks will allow you, if you have a spouse or if you have someone that you're sharing space with, to utilize not really their income, but just to split your things in half so that it helps your debt to income ratio. So if your rent's $800 or mortgage is $1,000, they'll allow you to say that your mortgage is $500, being that you have someone else assisting you with those finances. So some banks do that. You definitely want to check with your bank to see what credit report they're going to pull from. What bureau they're going to go with. If your bank is going to go with Experian, TransUnion, that's great, because those are two of the higher reports or bureaus, which I've never really seen a ton of lenders go with Equifax, but hey, you never know. Experian, in my experience, seems to always have a higher score. So if they're going to go with Experian, I think that better your chances of having a higher credit score, so you can get a better tier rate. Then also, how much of the car are they willing to finance? Check in with your dealer to see, okay, how much of this car are you guys going to finance? Because if you got a $70,000 car and they're only willing to finance 80% or up to a certain amount, in my case, my credit union was only going to finance $57,720. So what that meant for me is that I was going to have to put down upwards of $10,000, $13,000 right off the bat. And we ain't talking about, just the down payment for your lender to trust, that, just to gain your lender's trust. A lot of times the lenders will have you put down money just as, just to build that trust, just to show that, you're committed to the purchase, I guess, also to help with the debt to income, the different ratios. So sometimes they'll do that. Other times they won't, depending on the amount of the car, so that's something to consider. Also, you might want to think about incentives, seeing what types of incentives are available. That's always helpful as well. So yeah, man, that's all the time I got today. I'm just pulling up to work, man. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. As always, man, y'all be safe. And this Buckaroo Gang 2-4, man. And I'm out.